All right, so some of you guys might recognize this goalie. This is Maddie, who's at the University of Maryland. I don't know the age of this video, by the way. And I have a little video here. If I can, oh wait, right, so I gotta pull that up. Hang tight, boom, 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 boom. All right, where'd I go? There I am. All right, oh, this might be tough, guys. I apologize, because now my formatting's all off. Okay, that's, all right, hang on. This is better, okay. So I'll go with the still shot first, and just for those of you guys that are listening to me, this will be, I'll do my best to explain what I'm showing here. But Maddie is a Division I lacrosse goalie, and I forget Maddie's last name. Some of you guys might know. If you guys know her last name, just leave it in the comments. Okay, so I am not a fan of wide stance goalies. Okay, and I'm going to show you a little reason why that is. Not that Maddie has a particularly wide stance here, but I'll just play this video through. Maybe you guys can just see it. Oh, there's something else about this drill that just drives me crazy about this. Oh, let me get the graphics out here. Okay, so I'll just cover this first. The toss after she makes the save, the toss into the goal without making an outlet pass drives me crazy. Okay. All right. This to me is a perfect example of coaches going like, oh, we got to get shots off. We got to get shots, reps. No, all this goalie needs to do is hit a player with an outlet pass, and now you've just maximized your goalie's clearing ability on the same drill. And it took no time at all, like none. Maybe you lose 2 reps in the milliseconds that this adds up to. All right. But let me just play this through. All right. You can watch her live. All right. All right. So, all right. And then I'll just show you the still here. One last rep. Boom. All right. So let's show you this still. All right. So let me talk just first about the difference between female athletes and male athletes. Okay. And structurally, the female hip, okay, the distance between the hip, the balls of the hip, right, the hip joint, is wider, okay, than it is it's wider in relation to like the pelvis, and it's wider in relation to what's called the Q angle, which is where the knee, like the femur, so the long bone between the like your upper thigh, it goes from out to in on girls. Is why girls typically have more ACL injuries. It's because just the forces that are that are generated, just that Q angle is not great. Okay, so now going back to our ladder drill conversation, the idea that like if I tell you like, okay, I want you to go through this ladder as quickly as possible, you don't see any of those kids naturally going to like some really wide stance, do you? Right. So why then would we have them in a wide stance trying to get in front of a ball? If they can't get wide fast, right, through that ladder drill, and they naturally migrate to a narrower position, well, what happens then is that's just shows you they're going to where they feel the strongest. Okay. And so if I took you right now, and you can do this with your goalie, you say like, all right, listen, I want you to hold your hand right here. I want you to like hold your hand as close to your chest as possible, and I'm going to pull on your hand. You're going to be pretty strong. Okay. And now even if I push it from right to left, same thing. Your goalie, no matter what their age, is going to be able to like resist you, right? And so what they're doing is they're pulling in all these it pulls in all these muscles where that athlete feels naturally strongest. Now, if you take that goalie and you pull their hand out away from their body, right, and do the same thing, you're going to be able to move that hand easier. Okay. So this is an example of leverage, right? It's an example of leverage, but it also gives you an idea of like, where is your athlete feel strongest? So now what happens here is, regardless, if I play the video and I show you kind of Maddie here in her natural stance, all right, I love this stance, by the way. Okay. I love Kyle Bernlohr's stance. What's interesting is you see the PLL goalies who, even though they may they might have this wide stance, they will all migrate into this narrower stance where the knees come in and the knees come in a line, hip, knee, ankle, right? And so that's what she's in here. And I apologize, it's a little gray, okay, but hopefully you can see that. So if from her hip to her knee comes in a little bit and then back out to the ankle. Now the line is a little exaggerated. That's not my intent, but you get my point here, right? So she's in a position where she can explode, but in this case, she's exploding up, right? And as she makes this save, right? All right, as she makes this save, as you see the ball come into the frame, all right, the ball is actually going down. The ball is actually going like this, all right? And now she explodes up, not to the space, but through the space, which is fine. I get it. But what you'll notice is that what her right leg is doing here is basically just extending. Now, I know I'm getting technical for some of you guys, but just hang with me here, right? When you are learning to like jump, right, and your force is going up, your body gets in these natural positions, and so it's easier to jump up than it is to jump just to the side, right? And that's a sign of weakness, right? So, but what I want to do is I want to play this through one more frame and watch what happens, right? So her right leg at this point is now fully extended, and the left leg is kind of popped up and out, all right? Now, one of the things that's happening here is that, listen, as goalies, a lot of goalies, even Division One goalies here, we tend to overreact, right? We tend to, because the angle that she needs to cover here is actually quite small. This player's coming down at basically a 45-degree angle towards the net, straight at her, right? It's different than if the player is actually coming on an angle in front of her. So as the goalie identifies where the ball is going and she explodes into that space, her motion here is vertical, okay? Now, the idea here on the still shot I'm showing you is this is a ball that's actually lower. It's like knee height and it's to the side. But what you'll see here is in her left leg, her knee caves in. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Her knee caves in all the way, right? So that knee is basically underneath her, so she can now drive across. But what happens here is that her right leg is just extended like a kick save. And so I did a longer video for Lacrosse Goalie University members on this particular trend, I should see, because I did another video where the coach is like, "Great save, great job, you're doing fabulous, this is amazing, great work, girls." And I'm going like, "Yo, this girl needs like to get stronger, or else she's developing like really bad habits, or she's gonna get injured worse." Okay, so if I took a before and after of this particular picture, what you would notice is that her hips haven't really moved at all away from center, right? So she may make saves and that's great, but in the chance that that shooter is moving across the front of the net, it's a sign that this goalie lacks hip strength to move side to side, right? She may be okay vertically, and this is what happens a lot with strength and conditioning programs, is that, okay, so you finally get your athlete to a strength and conditioning program, or at a school like Maryland or where else, they might have a Division One, they might have they probably have a strength coach dedicated to the lacrosse team. And in fact, probably dedicated to the girls, the girls team and maybe girls softball. But what's happening here is that the goalie's making all sorts of movement, but we're missing the movement that is most applicable to her getting better long term. Does that make sense? Right? She's gotten to a certain level, but what I see here is a goalie that's plateaued, right? And so this goalie, in my opinion, needs to spend time strengthening the outside of their hip, right? And inside Lacrosse Goalie University, I'm doing a big a module on hip strengthening. Probably once I heal here, I'll get that up and running here. But what we see here in Maddie, as good as she is, right? And she's a Division One goalie at Maryland, not too shabby, right? But my deal is about the lacrosse goalie of the future. I said this before, I'll say it again. I don't believe we're seeing the best goalies um, that are possible. And in fact, with some of the coaching that's out there currently, I would argue that we have a lot of people who are stifling goalie potential. Okay. And so this is really important to me because if you take a goalie, and for those of you guys that do video review of your goalie, one of the things that you can do is take a line, like I'm doing here, a whiteboard on the screen, and you can map out things like um, the uh, the height of the shoulders and the height of the hips, and are they going up or are they going down? As I watched a video of Maddie, uh, she doesn't drop her hips very much, right? She doesn't get down on the ball, and that's a sign of either knees that hurt, because I went through that, or weak hips, right? Or just bad technique. Okay, but usually it comes down to weak hips and weak knees and things like that. So, think of a baseball catcher getting down on a ball. Think of a volleyball player. A volleyball player doesn't try to bump the ball back and just reach with her hands or his hands. They have to like drop their hips and get down, right? So if you see your lacrosse goalie, when they go to catch a ball, they're just dropping their hands, but their hips and their knees aren't moving, or their chest isn't moving. That's a sign that they don't have the strength to get down, right? So now what do? You get them in the gym. You don't try to make it happen with ladder drills prior to practice or things like that. You do slide board work. You do band work. You do all sorts of things there, right? But that to me is a sign, and I wish I could show. I don't know if this video will show it, but let me just go back to this video and see if I can see some things here, right? Um, so you'll see her turn, pivot, get in her stance. She has the ability to get down a little bit, but over time, as you watch and maybe go check out her Instagram or things like that, you'll see kind of the trend that what I'm talking about here. Okay, all right. So, like personally, I was diagnosed with tendonitis in my knees when I was 12 years old. So all through high school, I played with tremendous knee pain. I used to go to camps and play. We'd play those 3 times a day. Top 205, Syracuse, Cornell, Gettysburg, all that stuff, right? And then we would, I would hate to stop because my knees would stiffen up, right? So I learned this kind of the hard way. But I see goalies now doing the same thing, and I see it more on the girls' side than the boys' side. Going back to that explanation about what happens with with Q angle and things like that, right? So